minutes. Yeah, we're not leaving the room yet. We're going to start reading a little bit. Y'all are going to give me 5 minutes before we start the mass exodus of the room. We're on chapter 21, page 211. Aura, thank you.
Chapter 21, a worldwide search begins. I returned to Geneva to find my father and brother alive and safe. But the sad news I brought proved to be the final blow to my father's poor health. He simply couldn't go on living with the grief of horrible deaths of his loved ones. Only a few days after my return, he took his last breath and died in my arms. This was the final blow for me as well. The deaths of William, Justine, Henry, Elizabeth, and now my father were too much for my weakened mind to cope with. I went completely mad and had to be locked up in a hospital for the insane for many months.
Yeah. Do you believe in that as far as his dad goes? Now, we know that his dad has been in poor health for quite a while. But it does say that he simply couldn't go on with living with the grief of the horrible deaths. Do you believe in something that they call broken heart syndrome?
Yep.
People who die due to broken hearts. Like people who maybe have been married for a very long time and one dies and then very soon thereafter the other one. We really need those masks on, please. Please. Yes, sir. I had some head bobs, by the way.
I've heard that at least once before.
I have heard it, yeah, many times.
Me too, because I've heard it before on probably an ad probably when I was
I think so. I think you're right.
because they're really fast
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or something like that.
And I think, he's already in poor health, but now it's even worse. Yes, ma'am.
I have two things. My grandmother, my great grandfather died, and then shortly after my great grandmother died.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, you remember how you said the revenge is always served cold?
Yes.
Well, I was watching one of my TV shows, and it said it twice.
Really? We've got to get that mask on you better, okay? Got a lot going on around here. All right, James, could you read for us? We're on towards the top of 212 with When I Finally Awoke.
When I finally awoke in my right mind, I was filled with even greater desire for revenge than ever before. And this time I was determined to do something about it.
Finally, right?
I tried asking for help from the police in Geneva. I told my whole story to the judge, but not leaving out any detail. Although he seemed to believe me, he decided the superhuman powers of his monster plus the time that has passed since the murders made it impossible for anyone to catch him. That left me with only one choice, to go after the fiend myself, even if it meant spending the rest of my life doing it.
What? Just kind of wah-wah moment. He told the judge everything without leaving out any detail. He's finally he's owned it. He's owned it. That's exactly what I wanted him to do this whole time. He's owned it. And the judge believed him. But there's nothing we can do about it. It's like, wah, wah. Yes, sir.
It's too late.
It's too late.
He should have done it during the first murder. After the first murder, he should have told the whole truth.
Yeah.
The judge would have believed him.
Amen.
And there would be a possible chance,
Right.
bigger than this one, than catching it.
And thank you for qualifying that with saying the whole truth, right? Because he would tell some of the truth, but not the whole truth. Exactly. So, and let's go back. Because quite honestly, he took a chance to see if he could do something super cool, and he ran away from it. He did not take responsibility for what he did, which was create this creature to begin with. Right, Arif? Yes, sir.
Can I go to the restroom quick?
Yes, now we can start that process because y'all gave me my 5 minutes. Yes, sir.
Which led into a brother, which led into a friend, which led into his... There were like 5 people.
Right, but,
Wife.
and I agree with you because this is the big question about who is responsible for all of these deaths. And He just listed all of the deaths, by the way. Here's the deal. If I'm the detective at one of the crime scenes and Victor walks in and says, I confess to killing Henry or Elizabeth or William or whatever, I'm going to look at him and say, sorry, bro, I don't believe you. You didn't literally kill this person. So who literally killed these people? It is the creature. You know what I'm saying? But Victor's got to live with it. Here's how it goes. If y'all get in trouble today, if anyone in here makes a bad choice, what if I tell you, oh, it's okay, you're not in any trouble, but boy, your mom is. I am going to call her right now and tell her to go in a timeout.
What do you mean?
It would be the same thing if you agreed that Victor was responsible for it. If Victor is his creator, so is your mama. So are you telling me if Victor is responsible for it, if you do something wrong, I can quick tell your mother, sweetie, I know you've been looking forward to this for a while, and I know you're tired, because I'm a mama too. I need for you to go in a timeout for 30 minutes. All right, most mamas would be like, thank you, girl, I need it. I am so sorry for whatever he or she did, but I am definitely going into timeout right now. Because timeout would be awesome. You see what I'm saying? So when you do something wrong, we don't get your mamas and daddies in trouble. So even though Victor's got to live with guilt, he didn't do it. Yes, sir. Yes, he's back. Yes, sir. When he gets back. Yes, sir.
Good.
But then how would it work that way? I'd rather say put your child in blah 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 blah, or take away blah 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 from your child. That's still a punishment for the parent, because then the child will get annoyed or whatever, and then then the parent will have to complain about them
Honey,
being loud in
here
the house.
you are on to something, because here's what you seem to understand, but a lot of people don't know. When we have to discipline our own children, whether they're actually our children or even our students, it's kind of like you're getting punished too.
Yeah, because
You know what I'm saying?
you.
So if I'm going to take away iPads or computers, that's always my go-to thing. I love buying my children presents. You know why? It just gives me one more thing I can take away from them.
Happiness.
No, it gives me one more thing I can take away from them.
What is it? TV,
Whatever I bought them.
iPad.
Computer,
If I bought it, I'm going
Xbox, PlayStation. Oh, I love taking away a Nintendo Switch.
Oh.
It brings my heart joy.
Oh, it's actually.
Amen, honey.
Can I go? It's actually
Yes.
good because
I go
so
with
they
the
don't
trolley?
hurt their own eyes.
Right. But that's my thing. If my children consistently did something wrong, like the creature, I would be and feel like Victor. I would feel responsible. I would feel guilty. I would wonder where I went wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? As a parent. But Victor did not put his hands on anyone and kill them. Yeah, you girls have got to put your masks on. You girls have got to put your masks on. And I would quit sharing things that's fixing to go into your mouth. Yes.
But see, how does it bring joy to take away things from a child? It's like
Because-
taking candy from a baby consistently. They will only cry. They will only complain.
Yes, Daniel, but I have explained to you over and over again, as a mother, my evil makes me strong.
Wow.
So now, if I was
They
the-
got to know who not to mess with. So if I've got to take that candy from a baby, so be it. So be it,
when it's
Daniel.
necessary,
If
but
that baby
literally-
keeps putting that candy someplace it should not be, I'm taking that candy from that baby, Daniel, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it.
that is literally sounds wrong.
I know.
It just sounds wrong.
I understand, but you've got to discipline in creative ways sometimes.
You can discipline them, but you don't take joy out of it.
Well,
I would feel sad.
to each his own. John, let's get back into it. Can we go to bottom of 212 with gathering together all the money?
Gathering together all the money I had, I made plans to leave Geneva. But I asked myself, Where should I go?
Yeah.
The monster could be anywhere on the face of the earth. I began wandering through the city, and as night fell, I found myself at the cemetery, where William, Elizabeth, and my father were buried. I knelt at their grave and called out my vow to the heavens. I swear I will pursue the fiend who took the lives of these living innocent people and make them pay for his crimes.
So we're finally taking some action, right? Marshall, could you take over on 214 with the stillness of the night?
The stillness of the night was broken by a loud, fiendish laugh that deafened me as it echoed from mountain to mountain. Then, when the laughter died away, a hated, familiar voice whispered, "I have my just as I said, as I said I would. I have made your life miserable just as you did mine, and you will live to be even more miserable." I darted to the spot where the voice had come from, but the fiend had fled with a speed that no human could hope to match.
So he's just never going to leave him. They're never going to leave each other. It's like they're bonded together. Rahel, could you start there at the bottom of 214 from that moment on?
From that moment on, the pursuit had begun. With only a few clues to go on, I spent many months following the fiend throughout every country in Europe and Africa, and finally up to Russia.
While we're turning that page, that must have taken forever in the 1800s. Sorry, girl, keep going.
Sometimes frightened peasants who had sighted him pointed out his route. Other times, he himself left clues to guide me. He seemed to want me to suffer the agony of getting close and not capturing him.
It's a new way of torturing him. I'm going to leave Ernest alone. We haven't heard about Ernest in forever. Ernest must be fun. But I'm going to torture you by going so fast that you can almost keep up with me, and then you get a little lost, but then I'm going to leave you a clue. Because I want you to follow me forever. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right.
If I were to put this in a main perspective, like if I were to put this in an actual perspective,
Right.
where it's not like this book where it's all twisty and curvy and whatever,
Right,
where
right,
you actually
right.
know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
Hard to do.
If like the fiend would be the bad guy, but he's not the bad guy because Victor's the bad guy, but he's not the bad guy.
Yeah, this is why she's so good.
Victor has owned up to everything he's done,
Mm-hmm.
but he hasn't actually finished the deed yet. He hasn't defeated the fiend, and the fiend is only fighting for revenge for what Victor has done to him, left him so the world could curse him.
Right. So it's hard to decide right now anymore who's good and who's evil, right? But what if we did this? Who's winning? As far as who's more goal-oriented? The fiend. Everything he sets out to do, the creature is doing. Victor, on the other hand, let me take my time. Let me think about it. Whereas the creature is like, here's my to-do list. Let's get it done.
But that's because the fiend stuff is much less brain heavy than Victor's.
This is true. Kill. Run.
Yeah, all he has to do is kill, run, make sure Victor suffer, kill somebody else, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. He did that like 5 times in a row now. And now he's about to make Victor suffer so much.
Right.
That he
That-
almost dies.
Yeah. Because
That-
Victor built him. Now, although Victor didn't care about what he looked like, Victor made him an 8-foot tall monster. So this does mean that he's got more strength than Victor. So he knows I'm going to have him die a slow death. I'm going to outrun him. I'm going to take him through the heat of Africa. We're going to go up through all. I mean, they once said, there's an old legend that says when God was finished creating the earth, he had leftover rocks. And that's how he made Afghanistan. The beautiful, I know it makes the news in your lifetime for all kinds of crazy reasons. but the area of the world in Afghanistan, it's so beautiful. It's almost like a Mars landscape with rocky cliffs and rocks everywhere and desert. The old legend goes, God didn't know where to put his rocks. He put them in Afghanistan. So we're going to go through there in order to get to Russia. Then we're going to make our way to the Arctic Circle. He's making him die a slow death. Let me get to Chloe very quickly, Daniel. Yes, ma'am. Oh, absolutely. See, that was easy. Yes.
But that is true. He's like, I'm gonna take him.
Slow.
So I'm gonna start. And well, he didn't really start when he was still in Ingolstadt.
Right.
He started, brought Victor to Geneva. Then Victor went somewhere else.
Right.
Then he came back to Geneva because somebody else was about to die for William, because the judge and people thought that it was her actions. Then he does it on his wedding night, and then he does it to his father.
And now we're a wild goose chase. Yeah.
And now we're doing a wild goose chase all the way to the Arctic Circle. Victor's about to die in the actual beginning of the book, which is the end of the book.
Yes, it's
and
a
the story's
circular.
about to end very soon.
So that's called a circular novel, where it ends right where it began. Lathan, get ready on 216. Yes, sir.
I've been to Afghanistan. It's really cool.
All right, Lathan, can you start with I found messages?
I found messages from him cut into the back of trees, and into the bark of trees, or scratched into rocks. The more he taunted me, the more determined I was to continue or have any revenge, or have my revenge. Heading north into Russia, I found his last message. Wrap yourself in furs and prepare to suffer on your long journey. Your suffering will satisfy my eternal hatred of you. I bought a sledge and a dog team and crossed the snows of Russia with amazing speed. I was only a day behind him when I reached a tiny village and learned that the night before a huge monster had attacked the villages, threatening them with guns and pistols. He had stolen their entire supply of food for the winter, plus a sledge and a dog team were crossing the ice.
I mean, the creature, I think we're almost a lost cause. He is on a tear. He's on a rampage now. What did the villagers do to him to deserve that? You know? And they weren't villagers that were connected to Victor in any way that would have served for revenge for Victor. No, he just literally cannot stop now his criminal behavior. Yes, sir.
So he's heading north in Russia, right?
Yeah.
And like the creature loves him to suffer in the long journey.
Right.
So
that part of Russia is really a frozen tundra, particularly if they're upwards towards Siberia. Yeah. And this is really going to take a toll on a normal human body. Okay. What were you going to say, though?
That's it.
Yeah. It's really going to take a toll. Yes, sir?
Okay, so so he's going to the Arctic Circle. What if Victor didn't die and his hatred was satisfied? He didn't die, he got to Geneva, he actually got healed for some reason, if that was possible. What if?
Because I don't want
Would the monster continue on a rampage? Or would the monster just stop? Because on the last mention you said, wrap yourself in furs and prepare for a long journey. Your suffering will satisfy my eternal hatred towards you.
Yeah, it's a great line.
So if the creature actually stops, Victor continues on. If Victor never got his revenge, do you think he actually I don't know. He's never forgiven him.
There's going to be a moment at the end that is going to be way too late. But it's going to satisfy your questions right now.
Yeah, it will
Yes, ma'am.
satisfy you.
Can I get a Band-Aid? Also, we only have 10 more pages left.
Yes. Where are the Band-Aids in here, Taylor? Yes,
They
James.
should be over there.
2 more pages.
If Victor's gonna make it, he's gonna have to strap on his big boy pants.
He's gonna step on it. Fire to his
All right, Charlie, get ready, and we're gonna read a few pages uninterrupted. I'm not gonna stop for comments because we need to get to a good part. Maya? I thought your hand was up, sweetie. I'm sorry. All right, where are we, Charlie? That was a bit.
The villagers
218,
wanted
the
me.
villagers warned me. Thank
Yes,
you.
about wrong page. The villagers warned me. Don't follow him. He headed out across the frozen sea. There is no land at all in that direction. You'll both be destroyed, if not by the ice breaking under you and drowning you, then by the cold freezing you to death. But I wouldn't take their warning. I had to have my revenge at any cost. I don't know how many weeks or months I spent on the ice, suffering unbelievable cold, thirst, hunger, and exhaustion. Then one morning, I reached the top of an ice mountain and discovered a dark spot moving on the frozen sea below.
Cool, thank you. Daniel, could you take over there as I lifted?
I lifted my telescope to my eye and carried out in triumph when I saw that the spot was a sledge. Seated on it was a hideous shape I knew so well. Tears filled my eyes, and I wept for joy. I followed the fiend for 2 days, but I wasn't able to get any closer than that mile that separated us.
Cool, thank you. Could you read one more for me, please?
But my hopes were suddenly dashed when the water under the ice beneath my sledge began to roll and swell. The wind picked up, blowing hard and tossing me about as if I was a tornado. Then, with a tremendous roar, the ice cracked apart, opening up deep, wide rifts like those in an earthquake.
Awesome, thank you. Tay, could you take over with those riffs instantly on 220?
Those rifts instantly filled with water, forming a turbulent sea. That sea now separated me on a small piece of ice from the evil enemy who floated away. Soon he had disappeared from sight, and I was left to die a hideous death. My sled would be my coffin, and a block of ice my burial place.
One more.
While I was on the ice, and I don't know how long, it was all my dogs except one died off. My food was gone, and I was about to sink. When I spotted your ship, I had no idea that any ships came this far north.
Oh, but the icebreaker sure did. I gotta introduce y'all to Shackleford later. Maya, could you take over with I Broke Apart?
I broke apart my sledge to make oars and managed to move the block of ice closer to your ship. And although I was weak and close to death, I had decided that if you were headed south, I couldn't come aboard. I preferred taking my chances on surviving in the sea than letting anyone stop me from pursuing my enemy. But you were headed north, so I let you rescue me. You saved my life, you and your men, and although I am still weak from my ordeal, I do plan to continue my pursuit.
Do you see those asterisks there? Maya really just ended the Frankenstein story for us because now we're going to present day time. And present day time was where we began the book with Victor being rescued by our ship's captain. They have him kind of in their emergency ward where they're taking care of him, nursing him back to life, but really they realize that he's dying. Flashback is over. We're at present day, present hour. Lily Grace, could you start on 222? Oh, that's right. All right, girl, you ready? 222, Skylar, with Robert, my friend.
Robert, my friend, that ended my story. I pray that I live long enough to find this terrible
Theme, yeah.
and destroy it. But if I don't, if I die before I find him, you must promise to find him and take my revenge on me. Just remember that thought. If he should appear before you, don't listen to anything he say. That fight can be very persuasive. Don't trust him, just kill him.
Put your mask on, please. Here's the deal. I don't like that Victor said this, and I do feel sorry for Victor because he's dying, but that's a lie. Our creature has not lied. He hasn't. Victor has. I don't like that. Chloe, are you ready for the last chapter? Peace at last.
Mr. Frankenstein's strange and terrifying story was at an end. Robert Walton sat laughing on. He felt great respect as well as great sympathy for his young scientific genius. Still, his curiosity was
Aroused, like Scooby ears.
Victor, he asked, now will you tell me how you formed this creature and how you brought him to life? Are you mad, Robert? What do you want to do? Create another fiend like this one? Do you have any idea what would happen if someone did that? If another monster were let loose to terrorize the world? No. One will ever know my horrible secret. It will die with me.
Thank you. Callie, could you take over there with weeks? Weeks went by.
Weeks went by with no change in time, and the ice surrounding it. It still threatened to crush the small vessel within us. Victor grew weaker and weaker each day, and now couldn't even get out of bed to look for the sledge or to get some air.
One more, please.
And one day, a roar of thunder in the distance brought the entire crew out on deck. That roar signaled the cracking and splitting of the solid sea of ice. 2 days after that, a path wide enough for the ship to sail through opened up. They were free.
Yeah, for me, this is, well, there's a lot of parts of history, but this is a fascinating little side note to history, these ice-breaking ships. Oh gosh, there is, let me whittle it down because it's quite a long documentary. But this documentary, if I can find snippets of it to show you about Shackelford, who was one of the captains of these ice-breaking ships. You're gonna love it. Let me get us to the next page because we'll have to have a stopping point, and we'll be finishing this up tomorrow. When Captain Walton gave the order to lift anchor and set sail, a great shout went up from the crew. The overjoyed captain hurried down to the cabin to tell Victor that they were heading back to England at last. No, you can't go back, gasped Victor. You must help me find my enemy first. We gotta stop there. How about a clip?
Victor's being selfish again.
Love ya. I'm late.
Victor's gonna die.
Victor's
Say
being
bye.
selfish.
Say bye.
Wait.
Bye.
No, I have